Mo here from TeamWizardden.com, here to talk to you about Abzan Midrange. I know it's not really anything new, but I've been playing it for a few weeks since cons came out, and I've been kind of tweaking it as I go, just kind of playing at FNMs, and I want to kind of talk to you about the changes I've gone through and where I'm at right now. So originally, I started with a pretty shaky list. We didn't really have everything we needed, obviously, for like the first or second week after cons came out. But I have everything I need now, and I've kind of made some changes, and I'm testing out a couple of things now. And I haven't had a ton of time to play, but I'll just start building the list here. We'll start with the lands, and I'm currently doing 25 lands. And we'll just get these in here as we go. Let's see, Sandstep. One of the things I've noticed is the tri-lands here that come into play tapped, like Sandstep Citadel here. If you're playing a 3-color mid-range deck, I highly recommend 4. Originally, I had 1 in the list, and 4 is definitely the right number, as I found. I noticed also if you look at the Pro Tour lists, up from the last standard Pro Tour, you'll see that the 3-color mid-range decks, those guys were on 4. It's definitely the right number. So highly recommend getting 4. I mean, I'm not running Thoughtseize main board. I got it side. There's really nothing other than that. There are no 1-drops in the deck. It's never important to have a land come into play untapped on turn 1. So I highly recommend 4. You need pretty much double of every color at some point. So it's very, very good to have 4 of those. What else do I have for lands here? I need the temples. That's right. Temple of Melody, Temple of Silence, and plenty of one there. Okay, so there's my 25 land. Cool. On to creatures. Of course, 4 coursers. Sylvan Carotid. 4 Fleece Main Lion, of course 4 Siege Rhino, and then as my test creature that I'm going to be trying out this week, I'm running 3 Herald of Torment here. Before I tried Rakshasa Death Dealer, I boarded him out a lot. He was never really that great. I was never really too impressed with him. I wanted him to be a little bit quicker and put a little bit more pressure against some more slower mid-range control decks that don't deal a lot with creatures. And also he provides some late game insurability with the protection that he has. But I didn't really like him, didn't really feel very good in the deck. So cutting him, I'm going to try Herald of Torment. A couple weeks ago, I was trying Brimaz in these 3 slots where Herald are going to be now. And I'm not opposed to trying to get Brimaz back in. He is a good creature, but I think the flying on Herald and the fact that it curves really well after a Siege Rhino for a bestow can be really, really powerful. And I don't have a lot of access to handle flyers right now, aside from 3 Wingmate Rocks that are in the deck right now. Now, Wingmate Rock I really love right now, and if you don't know much about it, I'll tell you it's a great creature. I'm not always going to be able to turn Raid online when I play him, but if you do have the Raid trigger, it's guaranteed 2 for 1 unless they're playing huge Wrath spells, or it's just going to sit there and attack them, kill their planeswalkers, or kill them. So Wingmate Rock is very good. Not to mention the fact that he helps buffer your life a lot too when he attacks. So that's very important. So those are my creatures that I'm going to be doing right now. For the spells in the deck, it's pretty. I'm not too 100% sure exactly what I'm going to do, but for right now, what my list looks like is I have 2 Abzan Charms. I'm going to be running 3 Bile Blight. Of course, Hero's Downfall as a 4 of. 1 of Murderous Cut. And 3 Sorin. Alright, did I get it all? I did. Cool. So Last week I had one Elspeth in the main board, and I was on 3 Abzan charms, and basically that was 2 Bile Blights were cut for that Elspeth and the Abzan charm. This week I want to cut 1 Abzan charm and the Elspeth for some extra Bile Blights. I feel like Elspeth is always a really good planeswalker, and she's really good at closing out games. However, I feel like she's just a win more when she comes down, in the late game, or if you don't have much of a board presence and you play her. I've noticed games have not always really gone my way because I had Elspeth. I've not necessarily been able to pull out and win that game just because I had an Elspeth to, into my empty board. So I feel like the extra Bile Blights are going to be very important, mostly because Jeskai Tempo has been a pretty difficult matchup for me recently. I haven't done a whole lot of testing against the matchup to kind of figure it out, but for the most part, I think having access to extra Bile Blights would help more than Elspeth would, because Elspeth doesn't do really anything to that deck. It can make some tokens that can block their Ravelmaster and tokens, but their Mantis Riders just swing over. Sarkhan just flies over and kills Elspeth or kills me with all their burn. She's just really not good in that matchup. So Bile Blights kill Mantis Riders, which are a huge problem with the flying for me. And Wingmate Rocks are usually not quick enough. And with the 4 toughness, they die to Stoke the Flames and they die to Sarkhan. So they don't, do a whole lot there. So I really want the Bile Blights in there. And for the sideboard, I'm actually going to be running a couple Arbor Colossus. I think he's actually pretty good here against Jeskai Tempo. I've boarded it in, I've gotten him out, and luckily I had both because the first one was dealt with like a block and a burn spell, but the second one just kind of locked up the game and I just won. I feel like if Jeskai Tempo doesn't have the Banishing Light for it, especially once Arbor Colossus is monstrous, you just win the game. Like, not necessarily, but it's a huge, huge advantage. The 6 toughness and 9 after monstrous is just way out of reach of, their burn spells. They have to, pretty much put a Stoke the Flames and a Lightning Strike or a Magma Jet or something. They gotta have like at least 2 burn spells, if you're not blocking with it in combat. It blocks their Mantis Riders, it blocks Sarkhan, and is bigger than Sarkhan's minus to deal 4 damage to him. So I think he's extremely powerful in that matchup. So I definitely have 2 in the sideboard for that, which could go up to 3. The triple green is a little, sketchy. Obviously, I'm heavy on green in my mana base, so it's not, too much of a worry. And Sylvan Carrots can help that out, but I think 2 is the right number for now. So how do I move him to the sideboard? Oops. I don't know how to move him to the sideboard in this new one. Is that it? There we go. Perfect. At the sideboard. So, okay, after that I have Drown in Sorrow as a 3 of. Generally, aggressive decks that, curve out at like 3 or 4 that are try to be really, really fast, this deck is really good against. You have Carotids, you have Coursers, you have Fleecemane Lions, and Siege Rhinos. All are very, very good. Your Bile Blights and, Murders, Cut, and Downfalls, to pick off the specific 1 or 2 creatures that are a little bit trouble for you. But for the most part, this deck really holds up aggressive decks really easily. So I don't want to put too much into my sideboard to try and combat aggro decks, and then I can leave more room in my board for, the mirror mid-range matches or, Jeskai Tempo or control decks. But the Drowneds are in here just for insurability. You don't want to get that hand where you have, a Sylvan Carotid, some land, and like some removal, and then they punch through your Carotid, and then, they just kill you because you don't draw very well. So the Drowned Sorrows, I definitely want to have them, for access just to make sure. After that, I'm going to run 2 Dune Blast. It's been extremely awesome in the mono green devotion matchup that kind of gets out of control really, really quick. If you don't do anything to them, they will just steamroll you and win. Like Nissa, Genesis Hydras, their Arbor Colossus, they have super big creatures and they get 2-for-1s constantly with with all the pressure that they put on the board so fast, and like Hornet Queen, there's things that are very very difficult to deal with. So Dune Blast is huge in that matchup, but also in the just kind of the mid-range mirror match like Abzan Midrange or like a Mardu mid-range deck. Dune Blast can come down, keep a Siege Rhino alive, and possibly a monstrous Fleece main line that's indestructible, and then you can just kind of just take over the game there with your one or two guys and wipes their board. It's really nice to just have a nice one-sided board wipe, per se. So after that, I have Naturalize as a 3 of. I really, really like Naturalize. From all the enchantment and or artifact removal that the deck has access to, I think Naturalize is just the purest and the best. It's cheap, it hits anything, and the it destroys versus exiles, so you can't hit like indestructible gods. But as of right now, that's really not a problem. I think seeing like a Keranos in a Jeskai Tempo deck is the scariest thing that I could see, and I don't really have a way to get rid of it unless it's active, and then you can like Abs Charm it. But um, other than that, which you probably shouldn't see, I think Natural is just perfect. We have uh, a guy on our team playing a white weenie deck with a lot of anthems like Hall of Triumph, Spear of Heliod, Dictate of Heliod. Those things are really really important to get rid of. But for the more mainstream like Jeskai Tempo, where they're running Banishing Lights, that's really nice to have answers to those, especially like if they Banishing Light a Siege Rhino, you get it back and get that activation again. But also, if you come across the Jeskai combo deck and they have the Ascendancy, obviously Naturalize can answer that. And worst case scenario, I mean, you kill like Coursers. It's just a very versatile card, and I think it's important. It could possibly even warrant a 4 of. It's that big. To me, I think it's very important. So I at least have a 3 of. To finish off what I have right now, that's definitely not what I want. Thoughtseize. 3 Thoughtseize in the sideboard. That could go up to 4. It doesn't matter. I don't think that's really a huge deal, the 3 or 4 difference, but it gives me, the hand disruption against like control decks where you want to hit their Perilous Vault. I forgot about that one. Naturalize comes in there too to beat Perilous Vault. But Thoughtseize also gets rid of like their counter spells or their spot removal for your guys. So like is it just control in general? I don't have a lot of sideboard here for control, but as you can see, I'm at 13 cards right now on my sideboard, and the other 2 were Bile Blight until I decided to move them to the main board where I had 1 main, 2 side. Now I have 3 main, 0 side. And then I have an Absent Charm and an Elspeth sitting off to the side. And I don't know what these last 2 slots could be per se. So maybe when this video is done, you can give me some comments and let me know what you think they should be. But I'll try and throw something in real quick and maybe figure it out. Like I have an Absent Charm that could go to the sideboard. It's pretty good in mid-range matchups, but also against like control. If they are dropping Pearl Lake Ancients, you can try and exile it. Force them to bounce it. That's actually not that bad because if they bounce 3 lands to their hand, and then if you have enough mana, you can respond to that with like another Absent Charm or Downfall or Murderous Cut or something, and force them to like bounce 3 more lands or just let it die. That's super huge because then if they bounce that many lands, you're putting them back really, really far. Other than that, I guess Elspeth could, fit in the sideboard. I just don't find too many matchups where she's that big a deal. And mostly I'm looking to use her minus. I just don't see her minus being very relevant, and it kind of hits me a little bit. Hits my rhinos, or if I bestow something with Herald, it's going to take that out. So I don't know if Elspeth will go in there, but I really do like the removal package I have right now. 2 Absent Charm, 3 Bile Blight, 1 Murderous Cut, 4 Downfalls. So that's 10 removal spells, which I really think is a good number. So I don't know if maybe like the 4th Bile Blight and like a 3rd Absent Charm could be on the board just for some extra, versatile removal spells. But Brimez. Yeah, I could do two Brimez on the sideboard. He actually would come in for the aggressive matches as well, because you know for turn 3, instead of like a courser, I have a 3/4 instead of a 2/4, and then you know if I block with him, I get an extra power. So he could probably do that. I might try that and maybe try that tomorrow and see how he goes, just to have a little bit of extra versatility. Or against in control matchups, I can board in just an extra, you know, cheap threat. So let's do that, and then we'll decide if, you know, as the night goes on, I'll fill out if I want to have some extra removal or anything. But that's nice. So then I have, you know, the Drowned Sorrows and Brimez for aggro. You know, unless like Naturalize comes in for like anthems or banishing lights or things like that. Thoughtseize for control. I could get a 4th Thoughtseize in there. Arbor Colossus for like Jeskai tempo. Yeah, Dune Blast for mid range and stuff. So I think this looks really good. Yeah, I really like this deck. It plays very smooth. It fits my play style a lot. So, and I mean it's just a powerful deck. Obviously, I run the Pro Tour. It's a very good combination of cards. It plays a lot of really powerful things. It's got all the best removal in the format with Bile Blight and Downfall. A Murderous Cut is very versatile. It's got the best creatures with Courser and Carotid. Fleece Mane, Siege Rhino, and Wingmate Rock is pretty good. So top it off with a few Sorin, which I guess we didn't really talk about Sorin, why he's in here, and basically um, he's there mostly for the life gain. The deck can be pretty painful in the mana base with the 5 Pain Lands and the 4 Windswept Heaths that I'm running. Aside from that, there's not a ton here. I guess if I use Abzan Charm to, you know, draw 2 cards, I lose 2 life. So Sorin really helps mitigate that life loss in the early game while trying to like fix your colors and things like that. So I don't know why I'm not getting pictures here, but you know what those cards are. Yeah, and then worst case scenario, if you don't have board presence or you have very little, Sorin can actually, you know, create board presence, and there's no other planeswalker at 4 mana that can do that in standard right now. So a hard argument that I've had before is like, well, why not just a Johnny Steadfast? He can like go wide if you want it, just like Sorin can with the, you know, +1/+1 on all your creatures. He can just put counters on all your creatures, so you can put a lot of damage on the board if you're going wide with a lot of creatures. But he also gives you the life link, which just targets 1 creature. But it also gives it first strike and vigilance, which is pretty important. That way, it like ensures it's probably not going to die. It's big enough in combat, and you're going to mitigate some life loss while also having a blocker back. So there's a pretty good argument for a Johnny Steadfast over Sorin. But Sorin is chosen basically here for the fact that he's going to give you access to a lot more lifelink with all your creatures, being able to attack with lifelink that turn, and if you choose not to attack with a creature or two, and just attack with like 1 or none, you still have access to that life link on their turn, which might put off their attack a little bit just because they're trying not to give you life. So he's super good there in that aspect. And the fact that he can actually create board presence with a 2/2. And not only that, but it's a 2/2 flyer. All right, and before we go, I just want to talk about our blog. If you're not watching this video from our blog, please check it out. We're at wizardden.blogspot.com. We usually have 4 or 5 guys or more writing at least 2 to 3 articles a week, and we're talking about the decks that we're playing, talking about the more popular decks like how I'm doing Abzan Midrange and stuff like that. If you're in Boise, reading the articles or watching our videos, then you can actually see what we're playing, so you get a good idea of what you're up against if you sit across from us on Friday nights. But please check it out. Our guys have a lot of really cool information and ideas that we talk about every week. So if you're not I'm into reading. We'll try and get more videos up because I think they're more fun than just reading articles. But aside from that, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/wizardden. You'll get links to articles, maybe some other promotions that might be going on, and of course, feel free to check us out at wizardden.com where we sell singles. So yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you